Trisha Paytas has a history of villainizing former partners and friends by getting her viewers to believe that they're the worst people to ever exist. This is always due to circumstances where she didn't get her way with these individuals, and so because she can't control them, she tries to control the way that people see them. She's done this to numerous people, but we're going to only focus on 3 of the largest creators she's done this to: Ethan Klein, Jason Nash and David Dobrik, all who she claimed were the devil. Here's a little snippet of what she's had to say about Ethan Klein after she destroyed their former podcast, Frenemies.
When you punch down, which Ethan is notorious for punching down, that's fine. I don't want to put that on Hila because she has always been respectful, nice, and gracious to me, and I can't say the same thing about Ethan.
She painted Ethan as a bully who used her and punched down on people smaller than him. Which is odd considering she had this to say about Ethan prior.
You're so sweet. You're literally the nicest person I've ever met.
And while you can argue that she only thought he was nice before things took a left turn, she still stated that he was the nicest person she had ever met. Which doesn't align with how she painted him. And if we argue that she stated that before things went south, then how do you explain her stating that both David Dobrik and Jason Nash were the best people she had ever met? Even after they had stopped engaging with her, only to turn around later and say the opposite when they still wouldn't give her what she wanted. Remember what we said, if she can't control people, she controls the way people see them. Trisha blamed Jason Nash and David Dobrik for being the reason she went to a mental hospital, stating that they were the worst people she had ever known.
I think there's plenty of other things that caused trauma in your life before that, though.
I think that I went to a mental hospital for the first time in my life after David and Jason.
Yet here's what she had to say about them after initially leaving their inner circle, when she admitted she was behaving erratically and dangerously and they had to distance themselves from her to protect themselves. Remember, the reason Trisha ended up in the mental hospital is because she drove her car through Jason's house and terrorized him for hours on end. The mental hospital was to avoid her going to jail, and yet she somehow presents herself as the victim. Jason Nash broke up with Trisha Paytas, and as a result Trisha did everything in her power to try to force him back into the relationship, including threats to harm him and herself. And that is why she ended up there, for no other reason than she couldn't handle the fact that he no longer wanted to be with her. If Jason had done the same to her, the internet would be raging. But because Trisha is a woman, this is somehow okay and completely understandable. She told Ethan they were the worst, but what did she have to say prior after no longer being in their lives while she was in therapy and thinking rationally?
We should watch his video.
If I read David's text, it would totally expose him as an actual sweet person. He sent me the nicest, most genuine text ever when I got on the plane, and I was like, holy cow, nicer than any text Jason has sent me. It was just the most thoughtful, well thought out text.
And I was rewatching this vlog of him. I remember it so specifically too because no guy has ever been this nice to me either. I will say that. That's why I held in so long. Make those jokes about the threesome jokes and stuff. I wasn't uncomfortable, but I let it go for so long because I really did love Jason, and I know he really did love me. I think it was just really horrible circumstances. He's making all this money and his friends are pressuring him to, he wanted to, not pressuring him, but he just wanted to be around his friends and make vlogs, and that's what was making him money, and he liked being around, and he still does, and that's cool. That's fine. It was the wrong timing for us, for sure, but I know he really loved me. Because I'm rewatching this.
Remember, she once told Gabby Hanna that to be kicked out of David and Jason's lives you had to have done something horrible. She herself admitted that, because she herself knew she had done that. While in therapy, Trisha believed that Jason Nash and David Dobrik had every right to protect themselves from her. But once she left therapy, she started spewing the opposite. She has a habit of trying to villainize the nicest people she's ever met, the minute those people no longer want anything to do with her. Ethan Klein forgets that Trisha doesn't view him as anything more than another Jason Nash and David Dobrik, and that's why she's treated him as such. It's one thing to change your opinion about someone, it's another to villainize them to the entire internet just because they're no longer doing what you say.